understanding the fivefold ministry. We read this passage earlier, The effective execution of the fivefold ministry is crucial for the completion of God's purposes. The role of the fivefold ministers and ministries are crucial. They are very important to the end-time purpose of God. They are very important. And if they get it wrong, it will jeopardize the entire plan of God. This is how important it is. If we don't understand our work, it will jeopardize. There is nobody that God will use. It's either the apostle, the prophet, the accurate one anyway, the teacher, the pastors that he has now put in the place of Christ. They are the one he will depend upon to complete his purpose so that he can come. And where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. So how can we effectively execute a purpose that we do not understand? And how can the saints be the one that God will come to take when it has not attained into maturity? And his life is still fragmented. The act or system of equipping is different from blessing the saints. Equipping requires a totally different spiritual technology because God intends to use the church. So, I came here with my second book that was out just 2 weeks ago. Page 77 of this book is where I lifted this thing from. Just like I said concerning the becoming the accurate expression. This thing I put that already. These are things I've been processing for decades. You will see them. I lifted them from page 77 of this book. So to understand this better, let's look at the meaning of the word equipping. We read that in in Ephesians 4 already, Abi. So the word equipping is the Greek word katartismos. Katartismos is the English word from which we get the English word artisan. An artisan, for instance, is an artist. And I did art. We have 5 branches of art. We have graphic, we have painting, we have sculpture, we have ceramics, and we have textile. But we're looking at sculpture, for instance. A sculpture is the one that can go to the forest and take a tree trunk. And you just cut a tree trunk and just put here like this. You will see nothing, it's just a tree trunk. In the mind of that sculpture, the image you want to carve that out of that tree trunk is in his head. And you will see him with his chisel, with his hammer, and with everything. He will just cutting. After a while, you begin to see shapes begin to form. And if it's a human bust, after a while you will see a head shape, nose. It will form it out of a tree trunk. So a sculptor is somebody who take raw pieces of metal and weld and bend them into a statue. If you go to a certain city at the roundabout, it's sculptural pieces that you will see. Some in iron, some in bronze, in either stone or in concrete. They use all kinds of material. He's the one that takes some raw material. You will not know those things don't have value, and fabricate it to express the order, beauty, and meaning. By the time you carry this thing, the thing has no meaning. But by the time it's done with it, you'll be dazed. That's a sculpture. That is what it means to equip. The word katartismos means to shape unformed human being. The unformed and sinful nature of people. Develop them, transform them to express the life, the meaning, the order of Christ in the earth. Because Jesus Christ is the pattern and model and standard for human lives and preferences in the earth. In the fivefold ministry of prophets, pastors, and evangelists, and the fivefold, Let me tell you, the work that God called us to do is a very creative work. Because you are seeing templates in the spirit and you are trying to carve the life of the people to fit. That's what many people don't understand. And so when you go around the talk, so you say, Pastor, he's trying to deceive somebody. Some of us are not in ministry because we don't have anything to do. It's because we are called by God. So the work of fivefold requires intelligence. It requires knowledge. It requires systematic impartation of principles and value to produce a quality of standard life that God requires. And the life that is coming for will not be less than his, because he gave his life for it. Hello? So it is not just to bless, but to mold. Everybody say to mold. To change, to shape into a predestined nature that he wants you to be and to function. Because that nature has already been determined. We are not the one creating it. It already exists, and it's Christ. So all we need, we shape, we mold, we, manipulate, not in the wrong sense. That's what ceramics do. That's what sculptors do. Potters, God bless you, sir. That's what potters do. Like he told Jeremiah, go to the house of potter and I will tell you you are supposed to be in my hand. So when you put a clay on pottery, that's wheeling machine. And you see the potter, you just fetch a clay. After it has been kneaded and clean, you put it on the throwing wheel. He can use his elbow. The one that is gracious, he can use elbow, he can use a finger, he can use his thumb, he can use anything. You see something just grow out of it. And then if the vessel grow out the way he doesn't want, he can just smash it, and turn it around and do something. By the time he finishes, it's beautiful. When it is dry, it's glazed, and it is fired. It changes. That's our work. That's our work. Saints has no business looking like who they were before they came to Christ. And to bring us to the perfect man, it's called Telios Anel. That's Greek word, Telios Anel, and it means the male version of human. So it's talking about authority. Saints have to have authority. Devil is not just there chasing you. No, you have been brought to a life of enhancement. It defines manhood and means a fully grown man with mental and strong moral character. The church is being brought to Telios Anel. The next word we saw is the fullness of Christ. That word fullness is the Greek word pleroma. And pleroma means that Christ, the church, the body of Christ, have to be filled with the full dimension of Christ. Nothing lacking. In intelligence, in prophetic ability, in apostolic insight, and every power that he has. And then to the measure of the fullness of Christ. That word measure is metron. And it's the root word from which we get the English word meter. A meter is used for measurement. 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter. It's a measurement type. So Christ is the yardstick for measurement in the kingdom. Not your money. Not the size of the congregation, even though very important. Not cars, not your look, not height, and all that. We thank God for all of that. And if God blesses you with money, gracious, He helps ministry. You need money to do ministry. But the yardstick for measurement in the kingdom is the Son of God. So if you spend all the money and this standard is not met, it's a wasteful investment. Hello? And so we cannot fall short of that. I think the final one is stature. Stature is hilkia, another Greek word, and it means to grow both in height and in size. So in the spirit, Jesus has size. He has size. And we have to be able to fit into that size in the spirit, not in the natural. Yes? So there's a predetermined stature. Like a male grows up into a full size and height of the Father. So the saints are to grow up into the full height of the Son of God spiritually. We also need to understand that the function of the fivefold ministry is time frame. That's something we must learn now until we come. So God is waiting for a certain period that these people will get certain things accomplished. And we have to begin to think like that too. That's why we are discerning the time. So God is expecting the fulfillment of this purpose for which the fivefold ministry and offices are given, so he can lead us to the next phase. This is the reason and the purpose for Christ setting the structure of leadership in the body that he has. Yes, apostle, prophet, teacher, evangelist, and pastor. This is the aim. So they can produce Christ type. I read something in the Bible, say that he's first begotten, we are his brethren. We have to look like him, in the spirit, function like him, speak like him, have skill to interview like him and say, who do men say that I am? They say you are this and that, and then we flip the switch intelligently and say, who do you say that I am? That's an intelligent man. That's a skillful interviewer that his disciples did not know where he was going. And by the time he landed, everybody was just quiet. Yes? So as I conclude my presentation, this is the picture and the design for the life of every saint in the body of Christ. It is a powerful individual that nothing in the power of Hades can prevail against. And I'm sure you can see this picture clearly now. You can see who God has ordained you to be. So your problem is not what you don't have. The problem is who you are supposed to be that you are falling short of. The authority, the intelligence, the knowledge. Proverbs 24, it said, by wisdom a house is built, and by understanding is established. By knowledge, every chamber is furnished.